Hello, 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 and we're back on another take at this podcast thing. This one may be a little shorter because it's actually in addition to um, the last show that I was discussing. I was discussing finances and my college experience and living through that, and how I managed to save and receive great advice during that time in my life. And as a 30-year-old black woman in America today, I have acquired a bachelor's of arts degree in psychology with a minor in philosophy and or ethics. And so I do, that is my credential, even though I started this as a conversation piece to inform the people in my age group and to just have somewhere to discuss some of the things that go on for us. I mean, being what I consider an upper millennial, because we've actually come through the change of a lot of things. We've seen a lot of developments in this world. We know what it's capable of. That's why I think a lot of us can still have hope in the future of a nation as our own, because we came to through a time when things change. I can remember being young enough and old enough in the 90s to be aware of what was going on, and and being able to go to a computer magnet school to have some technological experience early on in life. Um, Not always as the biggest fan, but still being informed to know how to utilize the instruments that were present and the knowledge of what was to come. We, at our younger age, we could never develop like these kids have, just so advanced straight out. And I'm not sure if it's actually simplifying the young kid's mind, or if they are just to learn and do at a different pace than we're used to. Like, I am from a generation where we still did things the long way before we were able to use a calculator. So I wonder if that is all going to fall by the wayside for our future, or if some educators will find that it's always important to have that backup, because I believe with everything being so digital and our dependence on the internet and its availability to us personally and in business, I wonder if that is actually a handicap in the minds of some of citizens of the world, really, but specifically, I'm from the U.S., so in the U.S., um, I wonder if that's ever thought about. I wonder if that's ever considered our reliance on these things, but that seems to be a topic for the next show, possibly. Um, See how much information I can pull and get out of that, because this one was supposed to be, in addition to my last show, I think I ended on how people in my age group obtain these degrees, but a lot of us aren't using them in the jobs that we take, the initial jobs, or sometimes the career path that we take. So, again, I can take myself, for example. And so I had my degree. And when I graduated college, I was already working at a mental health facility, but I didn't want to stay there in the position I was in. And I got a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth when I applied for a position I really felt that I was qualified for and did not, was not able to obtain it. So that put a bad taste in my mouth there. And to me, it was not the best quality clinic, but I believe having someone of quality there would, I could have added something to the staff, but that's neither here nor there. And a lot of the starting positions at that time, they offered maybe $14 an hour, I believe. And when I started in the corporate job that I started out at $14 an hour. And within a year, I was promoted, and then I went up to about $16 an hour. And then with that came, some type of middle raise. So I think at some point it was like 1687 before we shifted again and received an increase of $1 or more. And no, yeah, it was actually more than it because it was like 18. So when I stopped, it was like 1867 an hour. And again, this is 7 years after 2017. So it was just a problem for me there, which is going back to my first show, is because to me there was no upward mobility. Not even just to me. There was no upward mobility. There was no linear moves, just going in a different path on the same level. I felt stuck. That place was no longer serving me as a whole. It was a means to an end of bills and those coming every month. But when there's a will, there's a way, and there's always God, I say. So, yes, that was my end of 2017. So if you can go listen to the first one if you want to get all the information on that. So, yeah, here I am, graduated, started making pretty good money for what I consider. I didn't owe anything at that time. I think I was still paying for my student loans. I knew that payment was coming soon. And I would say my cell phone bill again. That was all I had. I remember the day I interviewed for my first apartment. Oh, and I am fibbing. I had 2 credit cards at the time I graduated. Because, again, paying for those books was always the hassle. And so, yeah, I remember the interview for my apartment. Not really the interview per se, but the appointment I had to put my down payment and to meet the property managers and stuff like that. And it was cool. I remember her calling me. Like, I went for the interview. I'm literally walking. I get 2 blocks away. And then she called my cell phone like, oh, you scored a 97% on our credit score. So you can move in whenever you want, basically. At this point, because the application fee went towards some rent. And it was awesome. They took $100 off the first month's rent, and I end up in this world of first, last, and security. I ended up only having to pay first and last as my security. And like, that's just stuff in life that I'm just so thankful for. Like, it's not something you share to the world like immediately when it happens, but like, it makes you feel good in knowing that, like, okay, I am on the right path. I have done a few things right, because in this world there seems like you've always there's always room for learning and always room for critiquing, and I'm just trying to get you here and there. Sometimes we forget that the now is just as important, that it's the process that makes the end result. And I think stuff like that matters. And yeah, if I do sound a bit pushing or life coachy per se. I know, a terrible word. But I mean, it's because I do care for the advancement of people, which is why I think some of the information that I may have or I may be able to share is important to share with other people. So I don't know how long I'm going to be on. I saw today posted a new like YouTube rule. If you had under 1,000 subscribers and like 4,000 views or something, like your page would be cut off. So if I am, then definitely check my Facebook and or Instagram, because I'll definitely try and resurface somewhere else, because I do think things like this matter. I do think there has to be a voice for my 30 to 35 range, because each of us matter and each of us has a place in the society. And I just think that either the leaders, the so-called leaders, because there are good people out there, but we see so much of the everyday that can be life in the U.S. that we need almost a spokesperson or a representative of some kind. And I'm not saying that that's what I'm trying to be. That's just the words that come to mind when it's just like, are our voices being heard? Do people care what we've been through? Do people realize like there are subsections to the subsect group of said millennials? I don't think that older people consider that sometimes. I don't think that the older generations respect us because of where we're grouped in at. I just have ideas and I have plans. And I've been the one that people, my friends and family, have come to talk things through. I did have to learn that for advice, I hope you can hear my air quotes, for advice, it has to be solicited. Like someone has to be looking for it for you to then give it, and not just given so openly and willingly, because a lot of times people are aware of the whole of the situation. It's just that in their part of what's going on, they feel the need to release the attention, to release the information, to relieve the pressure of whatever it was that happened to them and the impact that it had on them. So with that being said, that is something I had to learn by knowing that I'm someone that people like to talk things through with, good or the bad, the next step. A good friend once told me I had good insight because I was single for a long time. At least I consider. We're not going to pretend like situationships. That is such a made up word that I love. But not that they didn't occur. But for me to actually love and care about somebody, that was a whole different situation. And I was stuck in the idea of a whole nother life than what I have now. But I am grateful and very thankful for the man in my life now. I'm not afraid to say it. And it took my life in a direction that I almost didn't even think about or think that it could get to. So before it becomes a different type of show, I just want to continue on the fact that I haven't used my degree professionally as of yet, but that doesn't mean that I can't still be a good friend, a good confidant, and a good listener to whomever come my way, or a good mentor or a good leader, because that was part of me leaving corporate America, because I didn't feel like I got to show what leadership qualities that I do have. I'm not going to say I had terrible bosses through through my working life, but I've had good and bad examples of what I think a leader is, because I think a lot of supervisors, team leaders, managers, executives tend to forget that a leader is from the people, and it's like a boss or a supervisor is just the title. But in doing the job and doing the job well, I believe you get into these positions. And that's just not always the case in a corporate situation. I mean, it could be nepotism, it could be a skin color, it could be family association, it could be a lot of things. And I mean, there was definitely a lack of diversity in the management roles of where I came from. So, I mean, the bigger company will probably pretend like everything's fine, but it just wasn't fine for me. So, yeah, even by not using the degree I had, one of my old male friends, he used to always ask, like, why'd you get it? Like, you're not even using it. And I'm like, I chose the major I chose, not just for money, not just for a job, but to obtain it for me. Literally, your high school graduation to me is your parents, and they feel like they've done right by getting you to that point. But your college graduation, I mean, at least for a semi independent like me, my college graduation was for me. I was not forced by my parent. I was not, I didn't have things being chose for me. I applied for me. I had my debt in my name for me, for my advancement. And I ultimately, that graduation day was for me. Who else took the 21 credits a semester and finished off in 3 years? Who else was getting up when it was dark and coming home when it was dark, with only school and work in between? That was the type of person I was. And that is the type of person that I really hope to get back to. That self-driven, self-determined, because she was so on fire. And yes, I realize that I'm not 18, 19 years old anymore, but she was just so ready and willing to do what she had to do to prove any naysayer wrong. And that is just what I strive to continue to be throughout this thing called life, because a lot of times we can lose ourselves in situations that we believe determine the course of our life, when that's not even a fact. That's just a little blip. Like, I think I just saw Dana Chanel. I do. I like her. I appreciate her contribution to the social media world. And I just saw on her page, Sprinkles of Jesus, I think it's called, and her personal page, Dana Chanel. She posted something like, oh, now I forgot. Now it left me. But on Thursday, January 18th, she had a good post to compare to what I was saying. Oh, about self-determination, but more so about the roadblocks. Like, don't let a bump in the road turn into a roadblock in your life. So let me repeat that. Do not let a small little anthill of not even a realistic bump in your road become so big in your mind that it blocks the other roads, other avenues for you to get to further your situation. Please don't allow that to happen. Recognize it, talk about it, do whatever you have to do to get over it, to get through it, to get you to a point where you can recognize it and take and learn from it and still become someone else later in life. Because a lot of the times what people don't understand is that when you end something with that person, no matter the time or place, you are no longer on the path of becoming who you were going to be had you been in that situation. Something changed, the universe moved, there was a spark. You're now out of it if it was not beneficial to who you are or supposed to be. And now you are on your way to becoming something else. Sometimes something bigger, sometimes something better, sometimes a little bit of the same, but in a different situation. But you're now on a whole nother trajectory point without getting too scientific or too language artsy. You're on another path now. And when you end a situation, whether it's any type of relationship, a work relationship, a personal relationship, a friendship, a companionship, when those things end, it changes you, and you just no longer you no longer stay on that path of who it was you were to become. You are now on a different path and still getting to where you need or want to be. It's just that it's not in a line with the energy that you were expending to that person at the time. So I think on that note, I'm going to end and let you guys think about your career path, your relationship path, and your personal path to yourself of love and self-love and spirituality and wholeness. Just, or do you feel as though you're on the right path? So this has been Quay Renee on this podcast thing for today. Thank you.